So that's it for the intros. I am Michael T. Smith. This is the Church of, and here is your message for the week of November the 10th, 2024. We are wrapping up a series on relationships, dealing with the axes, if you will, of priority and integration. We have our priority level of different relationships, which has a hierarchy. It can be low to high. We have an integration level to relationships, which also has a hierarchy. It can be low to high. Some people we function well with on the integration side. Some people we vibe with well. We just see the world the same way. And the people that we function and vibe with the most are not always the people who have the highest priority in our lives. And the people who have the highest priority in our lives are not often the people we gel with the most. And so navigating that disconnect, right? That inconcordance, if you will, navigating that has been what this series is about, and we're bringing it to a close here. So we have, we're bringing this thing in for a landing on how disharmony in the integration, right? Functional and ideological disharmony, how disharmony can lead to disruption, how disruption in a relationship, if it's not tended to, can lead to a breach, and how a breach can threaten deterioration, that the relationship is not what it once was, or it can threaten dissolution, that this relationship, the chapter on this relationship may close. And so we've dealt with questions last week. I won't get into it. How to have the questions if you have a relationship mirror who is interested in working things through, how to ask the questions. What is it that you want? What is it that you need? What is it that you envision in the parent-child, in the husband-wife, in the friendship relationship, in the coworker, the boss, the business partner, the employee, the sibling, the cousin, whatever it is. What is it that you need here? What is it that you're wanting here? How do you see this going? And then what standing in the way of that, right? Is what you're seeing, envisioning, even philosophically or practically possible? What accommodations, what actions would it take to bring that to pass, and why am I not willing to bring that action, or are you not willing to bring that action? I say not willing, maybe unable, maybe in this season, and if we're not able to reach that, then what's an alternative? If we're feeling the shadow of deterioration, we're feeling the threat of dissolution, but there is good here. There is priority and integration worth maintaining. But in this one area, or in this topic, or in this sphere, or in this season, there's things we can't work through. What is the alternative to that? And so that's where we are. And we spoke primarily in the context of marital and romantic relationships, but certainly not uniquely to them. What we're talking about is friendship. What we're talking about is all human relationship. What we're talking about is this pair bonding principles that we're sharing, but even beyond that, being part of a group, right? Being part of a clan, being part of a tribe. These are the dynamics that govern it, and so we're starting with these universal baseline processes and moving forward. Okay, so sometimes here in today's notes, this is it. Sometimes you can write this down. Compartmentalization. We say, okay, we're going to carve this area off. We've got a breach. The business went bad, and you still owe me, $5,000. Okay, is that our area of breach? You said something about my children last Thanksgiving, and I don't know if I want to come this Thanksgiving. Okay, is that our area of unresolved disharmony and disruption? Whatever those areas are in the marriage, there's been an affair, or there's been a hint at an affair, or just Facebook likes that were out of pocket, or whatever those things are. Identifying that area. Sometimes the compartmentalization that we go into is external and it's mutual. That there is a compartmentalization where we're agreeing to wall this off. We're agreeing to section this off because we've got a lot of functional and priority and ideological dynamics that depend on us, and so we're walling this off. I'll give it to you this way, and Olivia might be able to post this next line in your notes on the feed here. We have agreed to isolate this topic or this issue, this as yet unresolved disharmony, disruption, and breach. This hopefully be coming in your notes. Did you get the note? Okay, good. Okay. We have agreed to isolate this topic issue, whatever the disruption is, whatever the disharmony is, this yet unresolved disharmony, disruption, or breach, for the sake of our otherwise mutual thriving, our otherwise adjacent thriving. We've agreed to this. Sometimes compartmentalization is external. It's happening outside of ourselves. There's me, there's you, and then there's the situation, and you and I mutually have agreed to compartmentalize this, and our compartmentalization is out in the open. This yet unresolved in the notes there, you'll see with a question mark. Why? You don't need this in your notes, but why? Because sometimes we have family that depends on us. Sometimes the ship can't go down, you know. There's all this running joke about how stereotypically illness, how men deal with it, you know. You know, a man is like, oh my gosh, I had a sniffle today, and I don't think I can go to work for the next 6 weeks. And of course, the woman is like, my gosh, I've got this, I've got that, I've got 2 limbs cut off, I've got this and that, and I've still got to keep going. And a lot of that is that very typically women are the hub of the world, right? I mean, quite literally, they are the givers of life to the world. But there's so much depending. There's so much family at stake, kids at stake, friendships at stake. Sometimes there can be business dynamics, ministry dynamics, social dynamics, that the dynamics that the adjacent world, the thriving of the adjacent world has become important here, and our mutual disharmony, the thing that we agree is a problem, and we're not able to work past it. We've had to table it for the sake of our thriving. I can't go down here. I can't shut down here. I can't put it in park here. But also the world that depends on us to thrive. And I will tell you, you know, as a pastor, I'll tell you as a man, there were things that I've dealt with as a man, and I couldn't shut down. I wanted to shut down, right? Frank Sinatra, many times I've thought of quitting, but my heart wouldn't buy it. I've wanted to shut down. But you look at not just what's going on with me, not just what's going on with Connie, but there are mutual interests. There's adjacent thriving dependent upon our functioning, our continue to function. And I think in ministry, there are times when it sure would have been nice when I was pastoring to say, well, you know, Connie and I were just at an impasse and we can't work this out, so sayonara. But for the love of God, for the love of God's people, for the love of others who depended on us, there's you just table. You say that I can't deal with this now, but we're going to table it and we're going to let it be there. And so that is this mutual and external compartmentalization. What are you saying? Here in your notes, we know, right? It's come in this first paragraph. We know there is an issue. This is mutual and external. We know there is an issue. Mom, we know there's an issue. Dad, we know there's an issue. Son, daughter, we know there's an issue. Brother, sister, we know there is an issue here. And we consider the good we have, right? That there is an issue, but there's also good. We consider the good we have to be larger than that issue. So this is it. We know there's an issue. That's a good thought. But we also know that there's good here, and we consider the good to be larger than the issue, so that we, mutual, are moving forward. We're carrying on. I don't necessarily like the words in this, and I don't, sometimes you can get so fancy in preaching language, this word versus that word, but I don't like moving on. I like moving forward, right? We're carrying on. We're moving forward, but we're not moving on. Well, just move on here. Why? Because that sometimes can feel like the breach is not there. And in a mutual and an external compartmentalization, we are acknowledging that there is an issue. We are acknowledging that there's good. We are choosing to assign weight to the good that we have as higher than the issue we have. So we're moving forward and carrying on. How? In your notes, grateful for what we do have. There is an issue. There's been a breach of trust. There's been this, and we've tried to work through it. Go back a couple of weeks ago. Hopefully you have a relationship mirror that's as dedicated to the process, dedicated to the skill set, dedicated to the churning, dedicated to the seeking of light. Hopefully you have that mirror. Sometimes the best your mirror can do is an agreement of there's a problem unresolved. We've come at it 100 times. We've gotten a counselor over it. We've been to church counseling. We've been to America. We've gone into individual therapy, and this thing is still stubborn like a busted tile under the rug. It's just there. But we have agreed there is an issue. We consider the good we have to be larger and more important than an issue. And we have decided to move forward, to carry on, grateful for what we do have. We, in your notes, are purposing to endure. We are purposing to accommodate. We are purposing to work around the buckle in the floor. This is mutual. Mom, Dad, look, Thanksgiving's coming up. I'm coming in. Well, you still hadn't with your father and you that, and what you did, and you borrowed, and you caused me problems, and your stepfather and your stepmom, and you did this, and the way you treat your brother, the way you treat. Listen, I get it. But so we're here. I have a lot of feelings on that, Dad. I have a lot of feelings on that, Mom. I got a lot of feelings on that, son. But my God, the grandkids want to see. I want to see whatever. I don't know. Just go into your own situation, your own friendship, your own wedding. You going to the wedding. You're not going to the wedding. You're going to be in the party. You're not going to be in the party. You don't know if you still like the person that was divorced, and you don't think I'm not sure she should go into this marriage. She's been in 2 marriages. Whatever the issue is, we're purposing to endure, to accommodate, to work around. Now, when I say work around, I don't mean avoid the issue. I mean, we're cording off, and we're going to try to do our best to work around it, but we're not going to avoid it. Why? Because when it comes up, you got to acknowledge it. Well, that thing came up. When if there's a drinking issue, a bar issue, a money issue, or whatever it is, and that thing came up, well, don't just pretend it's not there. Say, hey, I see this, but we're good. Yeah, we're good. What are we saying? We have mutually, openly, externally agreed to compartmentalize this. We are purposing to endure this disharmony, to accommodate, to work around this disruption, this breach. How? As graciously as we can, which means sometimes it's going to pop up and be in the room, and we didn't want it to be in the room, but there's a phone call, there's this, and your business is always taking your time from us, and I feel like you should do this, and blah, 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 and that business phone call comes in. Well, we're not going to treat that business phone call that pulls us away as though it's a brand new issue. We have acknowledged that there's an issue. We know this is going to come up, and we're going to just endure it when it comes up, accommodate it, work through it as graciously as we can. I hope you're hearing my heart today. Other times, compartmentalization is internal and individual. Sometimes it's external, it's out here, and it's mutual, it's open, but sometimes it's internal, and it's not something we are doing, it's something I've had to do. Now, I want you to hear this. It's sometimes we don't have the mirror who wants to work through the issue, or we don't have the matching skill set or the dedication to the talk and the retalk, we don't have that. We don't have a mutual agreement, okay, there's a problem here, but we're going to be as gracious to each other because we got a lot. We don't have that. Sometimes you feel lost and alone, right? And you've had to make a compartmental decision that is internal. And it's not a mutual. You don't have a partner on the other side. You don't have a parent or a child who's bought in, or a sibling or a coworker or a friend or a spouse who's bought in. You're making the individual decision for the sake of your own heart, for the sake of your own well-being, for the sake of your own soul safety. I need to wall this part off because it's too painful to bear. In your notes, I have decided, coming into your notes, I have decided to isolate this area of, I love this, of my relating soul. See, we have an individual soul, but then we have a soul in connection, a soul in relationship. That's what's beautiful about the mythology of the Trinity, right? The theology of the Trinity, the mysticism of the Trinity, that God, according to our tradition, does not exist in isolation, but God exists in a circular dance of relationship, right? Quote Brother Rohr. I have decided to isolate this area of my relating soul regarding, here, look at your notes, this yet unresolved disharmony, disruption, and or breach. Why? I've decided I got to carve this off. I've decided I can't rent space to this in my mind. I got to decide I can't pick this scab, because every time I start thinking about it, I start thinking about dissolution. I start thinking about deterioration. I start feeling devalued. I start um, it just puts me in a dark place. So for the sake of my thriving, right, in your notes, for the sake of their thriving, for the sake of other thriving, not party A for my thriving, I have decided, even though they're not matching me, that I need to put up some buffer here inside my own soul. I've decided that for their thriving, because I know I'm not at my best when I'm looking at them through the lens of this issue. I need to do that. And there are other people, again, just like with mutual, there are other people depending on us, so we've had to move to compartmentalization. Here in your notes again, I have decided to isolate this area of my relating soul for this yet unresolved disharmony, disruption, or breach for the sake of my and other thriving. My family, my business, my marriage, my kids, whatever that is. In this individual and internal, you're saying this in your notes: I'm not sure I have any buy-in on the other side. Or, in your notes here, I'm not sure I have equal buy-in on the other side. See, sometimes in mutual, we both agree there's an issue. I hear you, but that's not what I'm saying. I hear you, but that's what I'm saying. But it seems like, I can see how it seems like, but you're reading it wrong. We have a mutual agreement, but sometimes we don't have any buy-in on the other side. They don't get what the problem is. Or sometimes we have buy-in, but they just don't think it's important. We don't have any or equal buy-in on the significance of the issue. Some people say, this is really a big thing to me, and it's not even a thing. Or it's just not that big of a thing. I hear you, but whatever it is, there's not equal buy-in on the significance of the issue. But here it is. I am deciding, in your notes, I've purposed not to let it steal the multiplex richness we do have, which is what? I could avoid going, I'm not going to go over to my cousin's house, or I'm not going to go here and there. And again, you understand that I'm not talking about the extremes. I'm talking about, there are some bad things that go on, and we've already talked about this. Sometimes it just reaches where it won't reach anymore. I've already covered all that for you. Well, what about my situation? Go back over the other things. Sometimes things just end. Sometimes relationships just don't work. Sometimes seasons close. We already talked about that, but I'm talking about if you're in a high priority relationship and the pressure of the breach and the disruption and the disharmony are coming to bear, and you say, I can't buckle my knees here, I can't bow out here, so either we are going to agree, or I am making the decision internally that even though I don't have equal buy-in, even though I maybe not have any buy-in on the significance of this issue, I purpose not to let it steal the multiplex richness that we do have in this relationship. Here in your notes, I purpose not to let it steal the peace and joy of another moment. Now, that's a big thing. Sometimes you've been circling an issue, right? You've been circling an issue for 2, 3, 4, 5, 10 years. And it steals every time you get to the thing, every time you go out to dinner, every time you get together for fishing, every time you go to and sometimes you're doing the internal compartmentalization. You're just saying, you know what, I can't let this steal the peace and joy of another moment. They don't see what I'm coming from. I don't think they put the same significance on it. I don't have the person that's giving me the equal and opposite. I don't feel. But you know what? I for my own sake, for my own relating soul, I'm not going to have another moment of peace or joy stolen or lost here. It can't steal the multiplex richness that I do have. It can't steal the peace or joy of a yet another moment. And here, in the last one here, it can't steal the preciousness of the limited life that's afforded to me. The limited time. Life is short. On one hand, life is long, and we hope things come back around. But on the other hand, life is short. Life is too precious. The lifetime and goodness that's been afforded to me, I can't let this steal from me. Oh, I hope you're hearing me. I hope my family's hearing. I hope you're hearing. I hope my spiritual family's hearing. I hope your spiritual family, your natural family. I hope my children. I hope my wife. I hope my dad. I hope we're hearing each other today. How precious life is. How precious time is. How much goodness there is. And if I don't decide to carve out this space in my soul that drowns me for my own relational thriving, for the well-being of my own relational soul, I can't let it steal the multiplex richness of my life. I can't let it steal another moment of peace and joy, and I can't let it steal any of the preciousness of the little time that I do have. Time keeps on slipping. slipping into the future. Now, in both of these, and we're doing quite well. Somebody say, what do you mean we're doing quite well? Well, on my notes, I'm making progress here. I used, and you'll see back with the notes Olivia posted in the chat, I used the word yet, and I used that word yet, like it's yet unresolved. That's a hope and cope tool. Yet is a hope and cope tool. You'll notice in your notes, see, it's yet question mark. Not yet, but yet. A hope and cope tool. But I got to be honest with you. I got to be honest. There are many things in our human relationship landscape that may never or will likely not ever be resolved satisfactorily. That's a big. By the time, look, if you're out here purposing to have high priority relationships, which sometimes they come to an end. Sometimes the air gets too thin, the integration air gets too thin. But if you're out here purposing to connect deeply with people, and you've reached the point where I don't know if I have a mirror that's committed to me, or has a matching skill set, or has a priority. I don't know if I have a mirror that's willing to work through those. What's the alternative to them not getting what they need and me not getting? What's the alternative to that shared misery? Or maybe you don't have a mirror that is mutually agreeing, okay, there's an issue here, we're going to work around, accommodate. And you find yourself alone as an individual saying, my God, I've got to carve this part of my heart off. I've got to be honest with you. There are many situations, by the time you get to that point, it might not ever be resolved. And even if it's resolved, it's highly unlikely that it'll be resolved to both parties' level of desired satisfaction. Sometimes the best resolve is just the agreement of, well, look, I'm sorry. Well, I don't know how deeply you meant that. Well, I forgive you. I don't know. Would you forgive me? Yeah, I would. But sometimes the itch is so deep, it'll never be scratched. I can't live like that. Well, you might have to. You might have to. You may be thinking, well, if you got mutual, we're willing to compartmentalize, but we're not going to live like this long term. Or maybe as an individual, internal, I'm willing to compartmentalize on this topic or issue, but I'm not going to do this long term, right? Like I know there's needs, and I know there's not time, and I know it's not convenient, and I know my mom is ailing, or I know my dad is ailing, or I know grandpa's not feeling well, or I know and I know we lost it, and I'm going to do it because we just got to keep on moving because the world's not stopping to deal with this thing. But I promise you this: I built a wall off, and I'm not walling around my heart. I'm not walling my heart off so I don't experience richness. I'm walling the issue off so I can continue to experience richness. You understand that? When I talk about building a wall, I'm not talking about building a wall around your heart where you no longer connect and thrive. I'm talking about building a wall around the breach, around the disharmony, around the disruption, so that you can continue to thrive. I hope you understand that in this series. And if you're like that, look, I'm not going to be doing, I'm willing to do this now, but I'm not willing to do it forever. It simply means you're opting for a hopeful, pragmatic, or even selfless compartmentalization. And it's temporary. What do I mean by that? In your notes there, it means you're opting, Libby, put that in if you would. It means you're opting for a hopeful, pragmatic. Somebody said, why are you talking so fast? So many big words. I'm trying to give you the notes because I'm trying to get this to you. Or maybe it's a selfless compartmentalization. Okay, I'm gonna wall this off my heart because I don't feel seen, but I'm doing it hopefully because maybe one day they'll see me. Okay, that's okay. That's all right. Or I'm walling this off because there's just not time, and maybe there will be a time when it's better to deal with it. That's pragmatic, right? Or maybe I've got this issue, but for the sake of everybody else involved, I know if I put this out as the absolute priority in this situation, that there's a highly unlikely I'm going to have no mirroring, and I'm going to have to move forward with dissolution or deterioration. That honestly, it might make me feel better in my small self, might even make me feel better in my big self. But that's going to be hurtful to a lot of people. So now you're in this place, and you say, well, it's not resolved yet. It's not resolved yet. That's a hopeful, copeful response, a pragmatic, sometimes selfless compartmentalization. You're saying, look, I'm doing it, but there's a time limit on it. That's fine. I say this, whatever gets you through the night. I'm doing this and this until the kids are grown, but I'm not going to be disrespectful like this. Or he thinks he can run around and treat me like this and not support me. I'm going to do that till the kids are grown. That's why it used to be, I don't know if this is still the truth, but it used to be that the most common years of marriage, most common years of divorce were like year 2 and year 26. Year 2, which is after year 1, we figured this ain't right. And then after year 26, about when the kids are grown and we're ready to move on, because we either had stuff that we said, I'm just going to deal with it till the kids are grown, or we had stuff that was like, we never really knew each other. We built the life outside of ourselves, but didn't connect with ourselves. But sometimes you say, I'm just going to wall this part of my heart off because I don't have a mutual mirror, I don't have a significance partner, I don't have that, or in this relationship, or I'm going to do this until here's the thing, mom's ailing, dad's ailing, grandpa's ailing, grandma's ailing, myself, this and that, and honestly, to get the person may pass before I ever get that acknowledgement. Listen, whatever gets you through the night. But there may come a day in which you decide that you cannot, or maybe you decide that you're no longer willing to, close off. We can put this in your notes. It's a lot. There may come a day, right there. It's going in your notes. But there may come a day in which you decide that you cannot, or maybe it's not that you cannot, you're just not willing to. I could go a little bit longer closing this part off of me, but I'm just not willing to. In your notes here, there may come a day where you're no longer willing to close off that big, complex, or even basic and fundamental part of yourself. I'm not asking for anything big. I'm just asking you to tell me I look pretty. I'm not asking for anything big. I'm just asking you to talk to me sometimes. And let's be honest, I'm not asking for anything big. I'm just asking you to make me feel like I'm the number one choice. Whatever it is, maybe it's big and complex and it's a sticky wicket and you just don't know how to sort it out because who even knows who's to blame anymore and you've compartmentalized. Or maybe it's just a pretty basic and decent thing I'd like to be spoken to, like you talk to your clients instead of like you speak to the dog, right? I mean, sometimes it's complex and big, sometimes, but this part of myself, right? That one day I'm no longer going to close that off, or I'm no longer going to close that part of myself off, in your notes here, to the coldness and numbness of neglect. That I've been asking you for this for 10, 20, 30 years, Phil. I've been asking you for this for X number of years, Mom. I've been asking you for this for X number of years, son. I've been asking you, and listen, I'm accommodating it. I'm going. I got my own reasons, my own thriving. You're thriving. Other people's thriving. But there may come a day where I'm no longer willing to close off this bigger complex issue. I'm no longer willing to close off this basic fundamental issue to the coldness and numbness of neglect, to feeling like I don't feel seen. So I've asked and I've tried to churn and I've tried to mirror and I've tried to talk and I've tried to retalk and I've tried to restate and eventually for my own survival I've compartmentalized this off so I can thrive in other areas so other people's thriving. But there may come a day where I just no longer willing to accommodate this coldness and numbness of neglect, or just the intractable complexity of attempting a resolution, which is what? Every time we go at this, I feel like we tie the knot tighter, and I'm tired of feeling like trying to fix it makes it tighter, so I've decided not to try to fix it, because every time I feel like we try to fix it, it makes it tighter, so I've just tried to live with it, but I don't know if I'm going to do that forever. In your notes, that there may come a day, maybe when you can no longer look past, or maybe when they can no longer look past. In your notes, there may come a day in a relationship. I hope this doesn't come for you, but sometimes it comes. I hope your individual compartmentalization, you're able to do it with hopefulness to get through the night, but you realize there may come a day when you can no longer look past, beyond, in your notes, or over, right? Or when they can no longer look past, beyond, or over. They may come a day where they can't look past, beyond, or over you. You may not be able to look past, beyond, or over them. Or neither of you or one of you may not be able to look past, beyond, or over whatever situation is being looked past, looked beyond, and over. Like, it's right here, it's right here, it's right here, but nobody agrees that it's an important thing, and I tried, and I just don't know if they see it, and I'll never see it, but I can't shut down my life here, I can't shut down the relationship, but there may come a day when you can no longer look past it, beyond it, or over it, or they can no longer look past, beyond, or over it. That day may come. But because it's not here yet and we're deciding to compartmentalize internally, let's keep two things in mind. Ooh, we reached the end. In your notes, I don't advise, this is me talking, This is a lot of years in relationships and blah, blah, blah. Some I've won at and some I did not lose. Some I can see where it went wrong and I have my side and they have their side, and that's a thing. Some where I have no idea. Some that are incredibly rich that I have no idea how I lucked into it. Some that I can say, no, I see we've done the hard work and we're doing. I'm just telling you my observation, not only of what I've walked with, but my God, the number of the thousands of souls I've walked through it with. I don't advise, in your notes, compartmentalizing with a naively hopeful heart that things will change. I don't advise. So well, you just said get me through the night. I'm saying be sober about it. If you're going to compartmentalize, do that. Say, okay, we can't deal with it. Do that. But I don't want you to go into it and say, but I know one day it'll change. There's a problem. In your notes, I don't advise that. Because although hope, in your notes, is always a welcome temptation. This is going to work itself. That's tempting to feel that way. It's always a welcome diversion. It's a narrative we tell ourselves, right? Especially this temptation and this diversion is meaningful. It's welcome when the in-your-faceness of the issue presses the hardest. When the money thing comes up, or the past thing comes up, or paying child support for something that wasn't known, or a mistake was, and it's like, man, we got to college, we need to do this, or I've got to sign on a thing because I'm this, and my God, it's just back in my face again. So when the in-your-faceness of the issue rises, sometimes it can be helpful to tell ourselves a story of. This is going to turn one day. But the problem with hope, in your notes, the problem with hope, we need hope, right? They say you can go 30 days without food, but 5 to 7 days without water. You can't go 30 seconds without hope. I'm not anti-hope, right? The problem with hope is that its delays and denials sometimes, the problem with hope, in your notes, is that its delays and denials sometimes act as an accelerant. Well, I was hoping, you don't have to put this in your notes here, but I'll just tell you, I was hoping that for our anniversary, something might happen, or at least for the holidays, we might be able, or during our family loss time, with this certain illness or pressure. I was just hoping that at that time, things would be different. That's good. Hope is good because it'll get you through it, but it's also dangerous because the delays and denials of that hope become an accelerant. What does that mean? In your notes, putting it in, that delayed and denied hope becomes an accelerant. It agitates the pangs of another delusional moment. Golly, I just thought this time Grandpa wouldn't drink at Christmas, or I thought this time it wouldn't turn into a political Jerry Springer show when I went home, or I just thought at this time, I just thought for one time that my husband, my grandson would leave his boyfriend at home, or my granddaughter leave her girlfriend, and my God, she didn't come, but she was texting the whole time, and my God, can I just have one thing where my kids aren't peeing in my face or whatever? And I understand that you feel that way. I get that. We can talk a lot about that. There's a lot of room for growth there, but I get everybody has their feelings, and whatever reason you've got yourself working that, and your principles and your values, and you're trying. Listen, everybody comes from a different side of the mountain, and I just thought for the holidays, and I just thought for my birthday, or I just thought, they wouldn't. I just thought maybe you could go 1 week without blowing up everything because you didn't get the right pizza or whatever that thing is, and you find out I didn't. So you went into the thing with hope, but you find out the hope was kind of naive, and that when it got dashed, it accelerated the pangs of another delusional moment. That's me again, just being stupid, thinking one time it would turn around, or another moment, another delusional day I spent thinking you were seeing me, or another delusional week I spent, or another delusional decade that I spent thinking that somehow, some way, somebody would make it a priority. And so we're in it with hope. Hope is keeping us there, but sometimes the very fact that we allow ourselves to hope is like the gut punch when it doesn't come through. It agitates the pangs that another yet delusional moment, day, week, or decade, here it is in your notes, has passed in the stagnant and mocking status quo. My God, we did it. It's in your notes there. We did it, and I just thought it would be different, and I thought we had a whole conversation, and we wouldn't derail over the budget, or we'd go out to dinner as a family, and we wouldn't go off on the server and require 6 managers coming, and I'll be doggone if I went out and he was a miserable bastard again. She was a miserable bastard again. My kids acted a fool again. My son-in-law and the daughter-in-law had a fight and tore up the whole restaurant again, and that's my stupid, well, what are you doing? Well, no, don't blame me. I mean, you went into it with hope. And then the problem with going into it with hope and allowing, say, well, I'm compartmentalizing it to pretend it doesn't bother me, but hope sometimes opens up, but maybe this time, and then you come out of the situation, the moment, the day, the month, or the decade, and you feel like it was the stagnant, mocking status quo. What I mean stagnant, ain't nothing changed. What I mean mocking, how stupid are you for getting your hopes up? So I am a champion of hope. I'm a believer in hope. I am the eternal optimist and hopeful, but I'm also telling you, compartmentalization sometimes works with your best safety recommendation is to go in saying, well, there's probably going to be a blow up at dinner, but I've compartmentalized that possibility because I don't want to miss all the great stuff about seeing everybody. So I've just said, grandma's going to be grandma, grandpa's going to be grandpa, mom, dad's going to be dad, the kids are going to be the kids, the in-laws are going to be the in-laws. And I've just kind of, why? Because otherwise you miss out on everything. And so well, maybe this time it'll change. Maybe this time my husband's parents will be nice to him, or my wife's parents will be nice to her. They'll be nice to the kids. And you say, golly, how'd I do it? And so now you went into it stupid, and you feel bad for allowing yourself to even think that, because I know better, and what if they were talking, and listen, I'm just telling you, maybe you go into it saying, oh, we're going to have a great time. We're all going down to South Florida. We're all going down to North Florida. We're all going down to California. We're all going out to, Disney World or wherever we're going, and it's just going to be a great time because my mom's not going to, just cuss out the children because they're mixed race or whatever stupid thing going on. I was so stupid to do it, but I like seeing my cousins. I like seeing my siblings. We got to stop that. We got to say, okay, I realize that this right now is a fixed ugliness, disharmony, disruption, breach in my thing, and I've compartmentalized it, and I'm not going to let myself get caught up and then mad at myself for feeling stupid. You're not stupid. You're hopeful, and hopeful is a beautiful part of the universe, but sometimes you just got to say, instead of being mocked that nothing changed, I need to say I didn't expect it to change, but that's why I built this wall around this topic in my soul so that I could keep the good and not get burned again. You understand? The effectiveness of compartmentalization coming in your notes. I don't even know if you're even out there. I could be talking to myself. It doesn't matter. The effectiveness of compartmentalization coming in your notes. Olivia's putting it in as a lot of words, but I'm getting it to you. The very reason you've decided to employ and deploy it as a relationship-saving tool in the first place. When you start pulling out the compartmentalization, you're already saying, okay, there's some stress and pressure here. The effectiveness of it, the reason we even decided to deploy it in your notes, becomes with accepting that you may never receive, or you're likely to never receive. Here in your notes, this is powerful. This is why you hung around this whole series. It begins with accepting. When you compartmentalize internally, mutually, externally, individually, internally, it begins by accepting that you are likely never to receive the acknowledgement, the apology, the accountability. Well, Phil, don't you think you owe me something after 30 years? Phil may never realize that there's an expectation of it. You may never receive the acknowledgement, the apology, the accountability. You may never receive the action. You may never even receive the attempt that you've desired. Well, I told him, just tell me I was pretty, or do something romantic for me instead of, jumping on me. Every time you come home, brace yourself, Effie. Just one card, one thing, one that's just even if it's stupid. I bought you a rose. He knows I can't do roses, and I'm allergic to roses. Why would he bring me roses? Okay, well, he didn't bring me roses, but there was an attempt. You have to realize that when you get to compartmentalization, you say, well, we're doing good for the kids, and we really are good friends, and I've got health issues, and he's got health issues, and I do think I love him. The old galoot or whatever it is. But God, if he could just make me feel like a lady one time. And you may say, man, I've passed all these years and did not even get so much as the acknowledgement, the apology, the accountability, the action, or even the attempt. I'm saying that it's best to do this, or to move in this daunting and begrudged undertaking with humility. Which is, you know what, God, I've walled this off, and I'm not going to go into it with judgment. And every time I get slighted, every time I open my hope, it's like a fresh punch. I'm going to just acknowledge that there's a stagnant thing. I'm not going to turn each repeat of the stagnant thing into as though it's a new issue. I'm gonna let it be the old issue, and just because there's a continuation of the old issue, I'm not going to treat it like, no, it's not. I'm not surprised. I can't believe you did it again. You didn't do it again. It's just there, right? Sometimes I can't compartmentalize like that. You may not be able to. And there may be things you say, well, no, this is a relationship dissolving thing. That's fine too. But you know what we're talking about. We're talking about those things where you say, there's some priority and integration here that I want to hold on to. And then there's this. It's best to walk it with humility. Humility how? Recognition that you or your own sight, your own perspective are fallible. That's a big thing. If you're going to enter into individual compartmentalization, do it with humility. If it's going to be internal, do it with humility. Recognition that I'm fallible. Recognition that my perspective on the situation is fallible. And you should also do it with gratitude. Why? Because be grateful, this is going to sound strange, that you're in a relationship that you see any value in compartmentalizing at all. I got a good friend, a best friend, but man, that politics, when she gets on it, or when he gets on it, or man, when they get on that religion, it just grates me like nails. And I've told them, and I've told them, look, could you chill on that? And they're saying, well, you're asking me to deny who I very am. And then I've had to make a decision, since they won't mutually compartmentalize this part, I've had to make a decision to do it internally. And God, I'm doing that with humility, because I have blind spots, I'm sure, like they have, but I'm also doing it with gratitude that I have a friendship that's even worth making the effort of compartmentalizing. Try to find the richness even in this daunting task. And if you're not going to do it with humility, if you're not going to enter into compartmentalization with gratitude, otherwise the compartmentalization, the act of it, is going to become an issue all on its own, a fresh issue. If you don't say, I'm choosing to do this internally, I'm choosing to do this as an individual, I'm making this decision to wall off this part, to keep my heart open. I'm doing that. But I'm going to do it with humility. I'm going to do it with gratitude. Otherwise, the fact that you've had to do it becomes a whole new issue. Now you're offended over the fact that they left you to do. No, you've chosen to compartmentalize. Don't add the breach and then say on top of that, I'm saying, and then you had to make me accommodate work. No. You're choosing to accommodate and work around. But don't let compartmentalization cause, in your notes, so otherwise, you can put this in your notes, otherwise, our use of compartmentalization becomes a new issue or offense all on its own. In your notes now, bitterness and resentment springing up around, here's the issue. You've decided to compartmentalize because you have no mirror and you have nobody else that sees it. You're going to do it, but now you're upset and offended and bitter because you had to compartmentalize. Bitterness and resentment springing up around the issue, festering the issue like gangrene, compounding and even supplanting the primary problem. Well, I was upset that you never came to any of my parties, and I decided I'm going to love you anyway, even though you never come to any of my parties. But now I'm upset because I'm so offended that I had to even make that wall in my life. So this isn't even the real issue anymore. I kept asking you to see the importance of it, and you didn't. So I decided to compartmentalize. But the fact that I compartmentalized, and when I stopped bringing it up, you pretend it wasn't there. Now I'm offended over that. Now you're in a new offense that's supplanted the old offense. That's why you got to, if you're going to compartmentalize, do it with humility, do it with graciousness, do it with gratitude. I have an old story about when I was a young in church, and it was on the serving team, and I guess I was always on the serving team, but vacuuming. And I remember vacuuming, and I was watching all the other people out there. They were just having a good time in the parking lot while I was vacuuming I was the only person in here. And I remember getting so upset. I was like, look at them. And I was vacuuming. Look at them, Lord. They don't care about they're treating this like a joke. They're just serving out front, but they don't care about behind the scenes. And I realized I was very proud of my humility in my service. Look at me serving with a proud heart. They're not helping me. Getting bitter over I let the good thing I was doing become a source of pride and bitterness. You don't want to do that. Like one of our TCO members says, they chose to take away my humble badge because I opted to wear it, right? They said, you're a pretty humble guy. And so, oh, thank you so much. I put that on. I wear it proudly. Well, now we got to take it back because you chose to wear it. Don't be in a situation where you say, I did something good for myself, I did something good for us, I did something good for others, and then get bitter, arrogant, and cruel that you took on the Christ role. Fine, I'll get on the cross. Fine, nail me up. I'm just worth nothing. I can't believe I had to do this for y'all. Well, you took on the higher Christ role, but you didn't take it on in the higher Christ spirit. This is major for relationships, especially in higher relationships, marriage and things like that. Don't offer to give. I'm going to be gracious and give this to you, and then punish because a person accepted what you gave. I'm going to offer charity and then punish the object of my charity. You're going the wrong way. Why? Why is this a problem? Because, again, this is our lives. We do this humbly. We do this graciously. We choose to love without letting the fact of how this has placed a burden on us to go deeper in God, deeper in love, deeper in the Spirit, deeper in the myth and mysticism of Christ, the Christ Spirit. But this issue that I don't have a mirror to deal with has demanded of me, if I want any richness, to take on this. And now I'm upset that you ever pushed me in this position. That's a wrong way to go. Why? Because if you're now upset, your life, you're letting your life go by. You're eating up too much of your life. Your life is precious. It's too precious to become entirely consumed with a lingering weight of offense. It's too precious to be entirely consumed with a lingering, weighty offense. I can't let my days be stolen. I can't let my dinners be stolen. I can't let my walks be stolen. I can't let my talks be stolen. I can't let family events be stolen. Well, he remarried her, and I can't stand her, and she this. And one time when my kid was 8, she snapped at my kid, and she better never snap at my kid. The kid's 25, it's his wedding day, and here another day is being stolen. That's not the second thing. Why should I do this gracious and with humility? Because, reason, okay, I don't want you to compartmentalize with hope because you can get burned. I want you to compartmentalize in reality and seeing the situation for it is. This is number one. And I want you to do it, instead of saying I'm doing it hopefully, I want you to do it humbly and graciously, right? Why? Because of number two. And this is it. Why do you want to do it humbly and graciously? Because your heart may change one day. You can have this in your notes. Your heart may change one day. Your perspective on the whole thing. You may wake up one day not hoping they would change. You may wake up one day and go, oh, yeah, I played that wrong. Whew. That's why you want to be gracious. That's why you want to be grateful. That's why you want to be humble. Because your heart may change one day. Your perspective, or even your priority. What? In this season of my life, this was the hugest thing in the world. Now that I've lived life a little, like my best friend's mom used to say, now that I've had a little dose of let alone and lived a little bit and figured out life, maybe I was majoring on a minor back then, and I'm so glad I chose to compartmentalize that and put it off, because now what I see that as is not nearly as big as the richness that I have today. So your perspective may change. Your priority may change. In your notes, the weight of the thing, whatever the thing was, may lessen in its proportional value. Man, that was huge in my relationship. When I was in my 20s and when we were in our 30s or 40s, that was huge in our relationship. But now that we're in our 70s, that's so much smaller part of who we are. So if we're compartmentalizing internally, if we're compartmentalizing individually, let us do so gratefully, let us do so humbly, let us do so graciously. Why? Because one day our perspective may change. The priority may change. The thing may lessen. It might, when we were young, it was a huge part of who we are. It hasn't changed at all, but we're so much bigger now. Oh, one of my great phrases from Mr. Stardust. You may be glad you live long enough to change your mind about the thing. Inshallah, right? If God is willing, you may be glad you live long enough to change your mind. Man, when I was 26, it was the biggest thing. When I was 36, when I turned 50 and he did it up, 77, you may be, thank you, Lord, that I compartmentalized internally, I compartmentalized individually. Thank you, Lord, that I live long enough to think differently about it. It's a beautiful thing. Or who knows? Maybe one day, maybe, it won't be they that changed, or or the thing that changed, or the circumstances that changed. Sorry, let me start again. Maybe one day it won't be you and your perspective and everything that changed. Maybe one day they may change. Maybe one day the thing may change. Maybe one day the circumstance may change. I mean, there's always hope. Well, now, doggone it, you told me not to hope. No, I didn't tell you not to hope. I said don't go into it with naive hope, always treating the fresh letdown as a new offense. The offense is there. I'm saying be gracious and humble and grateful, because one day you might change the way you see it. Or who knows? Fred may wake up and come in and have you daisies on the counter. And you're putting groceries away and you look and say, where is this? And you look over him, he's asleep in the recliner. And you can't believe it. And 20 years of tears come up because, my God, somewhere beneath all of our dysfunction, He heard me. She heard me. They saw me. Dad, on my way out, I knew it was another thing, Christmas did that, but I walked out and he walked me to the driveway and he was sitting there talking and he just shook his hand and said, I want you to know, I told somebody the other day about your business and they were talking about something and I said, my son runs something like that. My daughter runs something like that. And yeah, I just told him how great, that you were doing it real and these other people weren't doing it great. And that was your dad's way of saying, I'm proud of you. My God, he's 79, 84. Never even heard that in your life. Say, whoa, how did this happen? I'm not saying go to every family reunion or every Christmas over the next 36 years waiting for it. I just want to hear my dad say it. I just want to hear my dad say it. He's not saying that you've walled that part off. But someday your perspective may change. You may go, you know what? I see love now. I see his love for me in ways I never saw before. I'm so glad I didn't cut it off because I grew old enough to change, inshallah, if God is willing. Arm out to Allah's ears, right? I'm saying I grew enough to see that. Or maybe one day you just get that thing and it wasn't exactly what you thought, but I think beneath all that was an I love you, I'm proud of you, or I see you, or I'm sorry, or there was an acknowledgement or an action. So there's always hope. Okay. I think that's all I have. Love you so much. Thank you for your support of Connie and I. Thank you for your I'll just say this, if you're getting anything out of the messages, thank you. So, you shouldn't have told me that political stuff. Nah, man, I'm never going to come around you again. That's not true. You love me and you're getting too much out of it and you're going to support because the stuff we're teaching is changing your life. Thank you for your support. If you show up here week in and week out and you say, man, this really has been helping me. You listen on the treadmill, this really has been helping me. Thank you for saying, I'm getting something. It means a lot to us. Imagine what it's like putting this stuff out, knowing the typical church, the typical this wants nothing to do with it. You just saying, I see you guys and I get it if nobody else does. Whew, it's like God smiling at us. Most importantly, go out and live as love. I think we've talked about that week in and week out. That's your religion. That's our religion. Because it doesn't matter if President Trump won or President Harris won, there's still suffering in this world that you and I can enter into, to lift, to alleviate, to eliminate. And we can still be loved no matter if we feel like our person won or they didn't. Our mission hasn't changed, to embody love at the kitchen table, at the Thanksgiving table, in the neighborhood, out in the community, across the world, to bring a little bit of the not yet into the right now. That wouldn't have changed no matter what the results from Tuesday were. And I hope you'll join me in that, because that is my new religion. That is the religion, I believe, of the actual Christ, not this crazy false religion that's been built around him. Okay, I think that's it. I love you. Peace on you. Strength on you. Lifting. A word of encouragement. A word of comfort. If you feel seen in this election, peace on you. If you feel dismissed and devalued in this election, peace on you. Light arise. Father, I thank you for protection, deliverance, health, preservation, soundness, abundance. Lord, that we will thrive in high priority relationships, in high integration relationships, in low priority relationships, and low integration relationships. Let the echo of these truths, these complex Christ truths, let it work like yeast all the way through the spheres of our lives. I bless this little precious church. I bless these just precious, precious, wonderful people. In Jesus' name, amen. God bless you. I love you. My whole family loves you. And even the dog thinks you're awesome. The dog thinks everybody's awesome. If you have food, make it a great week. I'll see a brand new series next week. I just let Connie know a little bit of it. We were talking at 3 a.m. She said, this is going to change everything. It's going to change everything. You don't want to miss it. God bless you. We love you.